Now I will tell you about two projects. Two projects which were 1 semester long, each that required a lot of work on my side and on the student side. First project was March to July last year. The goal of the project was to give the students experience on new product development. They are engineering students. The course we did a project for is the programming languages course. This is the initial blocks diagram of what we wanted to do. We wanted to do a security system plus a greeter or welcome mat plus the visitor counter or visitor list maker for any house or building in Second Life. The diagrams you see on the screen, the blocks you see on the screen are the different elements that were assigned to the groups. But this project required also the initial training on Second Life because the students, most of them never used Second Life before. So this project first had to teach them basics of Second Life and in particular the scripting, and then start with the architecture of the system and the implementation. We are located in Lima, Peru. The participation in this project was not mandatory. From 148 students that were invited to the course, 54 accepted participate in this project. It was a good thing to have this optional participation because the ones who got involved were very excited and were willing to work very hard. By the way, the project was very demanding. There were 4 students who didn't make it to the end of the project. We allowed them to retire because this was a pilot project. We didn't want to put much pressure on anyone, but still 50 ended it. That's another picture of this first group of students. Their ages is around 18, 19 and 20 years old. That's one sandbox we were using. The PUCP University has in Second Life a few parcels that you could visit later if interested. That's the sandbox that we have. Now for the project, part of the experience was that the students helped to create the work area. It's interesting that usually in real life students use some work areas provided by the university, but in Second Life we have the unusual experience of allowing the students help in the creation of the work areas. So this that sign that you see in the photograph says that the future location or office of the course was going to be located in that place. Now the project had 4 main phases or steps. First, we needed to make sure they were learning the basics of Second Life, so their first task was very simple. It was to create a note card and a print. simple. Still, we wanted to make sure they were on the right track. The second main task was for them to create a first operational script. I requested them to do a stoplight, but this was a special stoplight with only one light that changed colors to work as a stoplight. The third was a more complex task where they were assigned specific topics for research, and they were free to build any object within the topics the groups were assigned. This was an interesting and fun moment of the project because they were given a lot of freedom. Now the final task, which is for the grading purpose, was 50% of their grade for this project is the final system, which also required like 50% of the effort. For example, here is a picture of the drop box where they had to deliver the initial note card and the prim. So I was able to grade it later by using the box. This proved to not be a good way of requesting homework from them, because a few of them, instead of dropping only one prim or one note card, by accident dropped a lot of items like body parts, skins, clothes. So when I went to grade the work, I found around 200 objects inside the box. Interesting, so the next semester I didn't use this technique. Now this is a photograph when they build the stoplight. Do you see the top avatar there? That's covering one of the stoplights they created. That was an individual task, so each person had to create their own stoplight. Now for the third task, we provided them a building so they could install inside the building the objects they were creating. Again, the experience for them to help preparing the work area, I believe, was motivating for them, and it's an unusual experience where students help adjust the work area. This is a building. This is a prefab building. It has 6 floors, and the students were installing the work within the 6 floors. This is the first floor of a building. By the way, the building is still in exhibition in Second Life. You could later go see it, and it's in my profile in my pics. The first floor of the building shows a summary of the project, and the remaining floors show work by specific student groups. As each group was assigned different tasks, the kind of objects that you see at this building has a huge variety, is very creative. The students were requested to also show some listing, like source code of the scripts they created, so visitors can also learn the scripting by watching the things they created and then reading the source code. Now this is a presentation we did in the middle of the project, not only to the group that participated in this Second Life project, but this was also for other students who didn't participate in the project. Now, for the last phase of the project, I provided this more detailed architecture of the system. As a concept, This is the same block diagram as the initial I showed you, but in this case the scripts that needed to be created are specified in this at this point in the project. I provided the students with detailed specifications of every script. The boxes you see here are the objects, and the orange rectangles are one script each, and each script is assigned to different groups. Like the first one that says CCP00 control is a script that is used for control. It's a script that handles the communication among the different elements, and that 00 means it was assigned to group 00. Actually, our groups were numbered starting with 0. Then for this last phase of the project, because we didn't have more space in the building, we provided an additional lab for the students to work. In this case, this was contrary to the building in the sense that this was much more open as opposed to the walls inside the building they were used to before. This is a photo in one of the floors of the labs. You can see some of the students. As expected, they adopted very different and creative avatars. You can see a Santa Claus, you can see a Tomb Raider, you can see the AI movie robot. That's an interesting part of working with the students. Now this is where we were assembling the final product. To the right, to the right of the slide, we see a box where the groups were installing their scripts, and gradually the main system started to operate. The house you see at the end is the house where we were installing the scripted elements. This is a view of inside the house. You can see some elements there like the sofa, the rug, the door, the windows, some lights, a fan, even the wall texture. Everything was controlled by the system. This is a photo we took after we finished assembling the product. They were happy. So this was one of our official final photos. Now the system is in a permanent exhibition in this place that is still available. You could also visit. This site has 4 very different kinds of buildings. You can see that we have a castle which represents some kind of a dangerous or scary place. So for that building, the configuration of our system has restrictions, like anyone is warned before they enter that building. On the other hand, the contrary would be that shopping mall that the building is the same you saw before, but in this case we are using it to represent a shopping mall called Center Mall, and in this case the people is welcome to enter, and when they arrive they receive information about the mall. And then the 2 houses or cabins are intermediate situations with intermediate configuration in our system. All this is to prove that the system we created can be configured for different purposes just by changing the options. And that's it. That was the first semester. That was a pilot project. That was a big and ambitious effort. was very successful. Everyone was happy, except that they worked very hard, but they were not complaining. Now for the second semester, I did many learnings myself, so the second time we did this big project, we did it smoothly, thanks to the learnings we all had on the first project. By the way, in this screen I'm using allows you to get a copy of my slides. You can do that by touching this small print below the screen. And I believe only 2 persons here have done that. And if you do that, you can then browse back and get a copy of my presentation. Now let's go ahead with the second project. In this case, in the second semester, we had less students, let's say less candidates than the first time. However, there was more demand. Because of the good experience on the previous semester, the demand was higher, so this time we had to select and restrict the number of participant students. So we had around 60 people interested, but we had to reduce that to 42. And we had 9 work groups. This is a picture of this other group of students. This time the setting was different. I started with an empty platform with our university logo, and maybe several of you can recognize that spaceship. That's the Millennium Falcon from Star Wars. Well, I am a fan of science fiction. I couldn't resist buying my Millennium Falcon and using it for the course. That was on display like for 1 month until we were starting to have the work from the students. You will see later. The first task for the students was to enter that spaceship that on the inside had some corridors and some kind of hidden rooms. Remember, the first goal is to teach Second Life basics to the students, so that was a kind of easy task for anyone experienced in Second Life, but for these new students, they still had trouble following the small corridors and finding the hidden rooms. They had to find some objects, and they had to build those small tables or pedestals, and then create freely some more prints. So this colorful exhibition that you see on the screen is the final work of the first task for the students. It's interesting that even they are not art students or graphic design, I was positively surprised with the creativity of them. Now, as a second task for them, they had to create their first script. I changed the stoplight idea from the first semester. Even that was a very good task for them, but just to not repeat the same task. The task that was given to them was to do a poll or a small survey script. By those days in Lima, Peru, we had elections for the city mayor. So because everyone by that time was talking about the candidates, that's why I came up with this requirement, so they could enter or configure each box for a particular candidate. In this example, one is called Alan Villaran, the other is called Gonzalo Ley, and then each person that was touching the box was able to enter the response, which could be one of the options, the approval, disapproval, or no opinion for that particular candidate. And the color of the box reflected either green for good approval, or red for disapproval, or yellow for tie. There you see the outcome. Each box in the floor is an area for a particular student, and even the requirement was just to do a box. Some of them improved the visual aspect, like you can see in the picture one Kermit the Frog, which looks nice when it's green, but if it receives several disapproval votes, then it will turn to yellow or red. Now for the third task in this project, there was a positive change, and somewhat unexpected at the beginning, but because people from several universities came to see the project, I made several friends by showing them my work. One particular university, the UTSA, was interested in collaborating and joining this project. So we reached an agreement with UTSA, University of Texas at San Antonio, which also had a group of students who wanted to do a project in Second Life. We agreed that the topic of mutual interest was the language learning, so we wanted to implement something in Second Life that helped the learning of languages. So we first had some social gathering in the campus. They have, as many important universities, they have a very nice campus in Second Life. The picture you see is a representation of a real building they have there in San Antonio. So we used it to do some initial social gatherings so the students can know each other. It was, I mean, we need to do it carefully, in the sense that there was a big cultural difference between the two groups, because my group was composed of young engineer students who mainly spoke Spanish, and the UTSA students were older in age. They were actually master students in the US, and they spoke English, plus there was cultural differences. However, it was a very interesting experience to work together. Now the UTSA assigned a big sandbox, bigger than we had before. Each of the houses you see there was assigned to a group, so each group has its own house. Because in the past we were used to work with small parcels, we never had big land in Second Life. The students and myself were very happy to now have this big area where we can do much more things. Now, something very important and interesting was that some friendships started to appear within, I mean among the students in the US and the Peruvian students, so much that one of the students, which is in that picture, the one in the middle, which is called Lauren, she came to visit Lima, Peru, to meet the people she had met in this project. It was very interesting. It was before the project ended, so we also used her visit to do some coordination, and she also used the visit to take many notes, because she wanted to write a paper related to this experience we were having. You may know that Lima is a city founded by people from Spain, so much of our downtown Lima architecture is this Spanish style, the style of 3 or 4 centuries ago. Now that's another picture with a group of my students, and in the middle we see our visitor Lauren. Now, in this third task, the one we were doing in these different houses, they were assigned research topics, and they were given the freedom to create anything within those research topics. So, in this case, for example, one of the groups, numbered group 3, used this what we call dummies or mannequins. I provided them this kind of prim person, and they scripted it so you can have some small conversation with this person. It asks some questions to you, and depending on your answers, it changes the sequence of the conversations. It's some very basic AI. Now, another project made by Group 7 was this Sir Isaac Newton, who, I don't know if it's clear in the picture, but the eyes are supposed to be closed, and then when he wakes up, he also starts a conversation with you. It's interesting. And it's good that they use a role model like this famous scientist instead of using like a rock star or something like that. Everything here is the creativity of the students. I didn't tell them exactly what to implement, I only gave them the research area. Now this is a table with 3 items on it. In the middle you see a soda or soft drink. In Peru, in addition to the Coca-Cola and Pepsi, in Peru we have the Inca Cola, which is yellow. So of course we chose our Inca Cola for the script. Then another group made this donut dispenser machine. This was one of the favorite objects made by the students. Now the students, in addition to creating the object, I requested them to do advertising for their creation. Here you see, maybe the text is not very clear, but this is advertising, so they show what they have done, so a visitor can very easily understand the purpose of the objects they created. Again, I was surprised by the creativity. They have not taken any official graphic design or Photoshop or art course. However, they were able to be creative and do this using the Photoshop that they learned by themselves. Now for the last phase of the project, which is the most difficult one, and the main task, the main goal for the whole project is to build a big system composed of several elements developed by the groups. And the way we divided the main task with the people from the UTSA University was that they were in charge of the functional design, the specifications, and the wording of the interaction, like the specific words and phrases. And my students were in charge of the scripting. The people in the US were designing how this language learning interaction was going to be, and the Peruvian students were scripting that specification. Everything was finally installed in this house. This was also a prefab house I bought, and inside we started to install our work. this is the diagram of how the system works. The blue box is the kind of template of the interactive objects. The house was going to have many objects inside, like TV, radio, refrigerator, microwave oven, table, chairs, sofa, and so on. But every object was going to have on the inside that script text template. The template indicates that the script, there are two kinds of scripts inside each object. One starts with the letters QS, which means question script, and there are three kinds of QS scripts. One is the QS exact, that asks the visitor an exact question, or a question that has an exact answer. The second kind of script is the QS options, which gives the visitor several choices for responses. Like, for example, that TV would ask for several channels or several kinds of programming to show. The third script was the QS sit, which was more simple. The visitor had to sit on the object. Like, for example, he was asked to sit on the sofa or in a chair. So those were the three kinds of things that each object requested to a visitor. Now, the script to the right that starts with the letters RS means reaction script. The reactions of the object were different. For example, the first one says RS open, means that the object was able to open itself only if the visitor gave the correct response to the question. The second RS script is called RS turn on, which turns on an object only if the visitor gave the correct response, and so on. So you see that each object was created using a combination of those possible scripts. Now, you see a green circle that is a bracelet. The way that visitors interacted with the objects in the house is the bracelet. The bracelet was the element that was keeping track of the progress. Each object in the house was providing some learning, in this case some language learning, and the bracelet was the element that was keeping track of those. By the way, this house had two languages we can learn, and it is controlled by the bracelet. We can get either the Learn English bracelet or the Learn Spanish bracelet. Depending on the bracelet you get, then your interaction with the objects will be either in one or the other language. Then the other element you see on this screen is the AI dummy, which is not very critical, but a bit more aesthetic element. It's a mannequin that welcomes visitors to each room in the house. We agree on a number of 5 rooms in the house, so we have 5 AI dummies. This is how the bracelet looks. And at the top you see that floating text above the bracelet. It says habitación, which means room. So the room is kitchen, the object is the sink, and the total progress is 0%. You can see how the languages are mixed, in the sense that in this example, this is intended for Spanish speakers who want to learn English. That's why the words habitación, objeto are in Spanish for the Spanish speaker, but the room and the object names are in English, because those are the words that he's trying to learn. This is an example of an interaction. For example, this person is saying abre la cómoda, and then the object called cómoda will open per his request. Actually, this is first the object is asking qué desea hacer, which means what do you want to do, and then the visitor responded to open it in Spanish. So that was it. That project is still in exhibition. I believe most links to the places I have shown are in my profile pics. You could go visit if you want. Now, this is a future project I want to talk about. Maybe here among you there could be anyone interested, but this is an exciting new project I am preparing right now. Based on the interesting experience I just showed, I am preparing a course, this time open to anyone who wants to participate. I wish to attract students from several countries to make not only a multidisciplinary group but also multicultural group. I am planning to do 10 sessions, and the complexity of this kind of project will be much smaller than the previous, because this new product development life cycle project not only has the implementation part in mind, but also the sales and marketing side. That's the main addition. So I want, for this new adaptation of my project, I want to reduce the technical complexity to gain the opportunity to do also the sales and marketing, so I can not only benefit engineering students but also marketing students or business administration students. So on 10 sessions we will go through the whole new product development life cycle. The rate I am offering is $40 per student for groups when they join us groups, and I am scheduling 2 groups, one to start June 7 and one to start July 5th. So each team in this project will create an actual product. Exactly which product we create will be the decision of the group. So myself, I am open to anything that the group wants to create. I will act as the advisor. I can provide technical help, marketing help, but the experience will be lived by the students themselves. They are going to do the work. Then we will sell the product, and in order to do that, probably several of the people here already sell some kind of product in Second Life, so you know that there is also important part of the success depending on the sales and marketing effort, how we name the product, how we do the advertising, the posters, the box, and so on. And at the end we will analyze our learnings, our failures or good decisions, and so we will learn regardless of the level of success in the sales of our product. We will still have a learning experience. And why I came up with this idea, because we, among the universities I've seen in the US and in Peru, probably the same in other countries, students are always kept, let's say, within the class community or within the campus community. It's very rare that students provide any actual product or service to the outside world, because it's there is no easy way to do that in real life, and students are just starting to learn things. They usually are not expected to provide any actual product or service to the outside world, but Second Life, because this is a reduced and simplified reality, but it has an actual community, actual market, actual demand, and actual money. That's why I want to experiment with this concept. I want to give students the experience of creating anything that address a real need, and to sell it, and to listen to the feedback from the user. Maybe the user will say that they cannot use the product, or they don't like the product, or that the product should have more features. All those experiences many of us have had in our professional lives, but usually in college the students don't have yet those experiences. That's what I want to provide. And the kind of students I expect are business administration or marketing and or computer programming. That's a list of the 10 topics for each of the sessions. It starts with brainstorming, then we need to have the idea, then make the product specification, then document, then do alpha tests with the first version, then do beta tests with the second version, open a store, then start interacting with the customers, and then a final third version of the thing we created, and finally a self-evaluation, plus the 11th session, which is just to quantify maybe number of sales, or to get any final customer feedback or any comment. Well, so that's mainly it, and the groups start either in June or July for 10 weekly sessions. The cost I am requesting that could be paid either in US dollars via PayPal or in Linden dollars are either $40 or $50 for individual participants. And register with me. That's it. Well, thank you very much. Please feel welcome to ask any question about the projects I have presented you. But thank you very much for attending.
We can take questions in voice or in text chat, so please go ahead. I'll add that we now have the landmark givers working up here at the front of the stage. You'll see a green box and a copper box. One is speakers landmarks, and one is for visitors to the conference. So help yourself. And thanks to Sloan for getting those working for us. August, I do have one question for you. I was also multitasking while you were talking. You may have covered this partially. I'll put it in the text chat as well as saying it here. At your university, how new is this type of project? How many colleagues do you have working with Second Life?
Okay, thanks for the question. This PUCP University in Peru actually was one pioneer in Second Life 3 years ago. They started with arts, in a course called Geometric Drawing, Dibujo Geométrico, and 3 years ago, in addition to making the students do the regular drawing, either in paper or in software like Photoshop, they started using Second Life to create some geometrical drawings. They did very nice things. But my project was the second important application of Second Life in education, and this time in a totally different setting, which was engineering and programming.
Thank you. Any other questions? Well, I'd like to thank everybody for attending today and thank August for an excellent presentation.
Well, thank you very much for attending, and if you have any question later, feel free to IM me. Well, thank you very much.